Welcome to 200 Sports, Jason. That's not Jason. I'm Jason. That's Francis.
I mean, it's your birthday and you're delivering insults to me?
Oh, no.
Calling me Jason?
That is the greatest compliment you can ever receive on this medium. Not even this show, just this network overall in all digital media. Francis, you're walking down the street, right? You see, and it's so unfair to use you in this example because you look like a terrible person if I went in this example. But the story goes on. You're walking down the street, right? You see two ladies, and they're holding their cell phones, and you go to rob their cell phones because you are a terrible, terrible human being.
I needed a new phone.
What is the last thing you'd expect would happen? And I shouldn't say last thing to expect would happen, but what would you definitely not want to happen?
I wouldn't expect to be robbing a professional MMA fighter and her getting me in a deadly triangle for a ridiculous period of time to the point that I'm crying and humiliated, and rightly so. I'm a horrible person. I deserve that punishment. Karma has bit me in the form of a freak submission hold that I will never get out of my head for many years to come. Even when I'm in jail, there'll be guys walking around like this.
Why would you be in jail? Oh, because for robbing. I get it. He's pulling the story.
Jason. And they're doing the triangle. Because they're going to be like, triangle, you got a triangle, and you were crying.
Got it. All right, so Francis, thank you for that example. Thank you for playing along. End scene.
Right, and Mike, how's it going?
Roll tape. Monique Bastos got...
Monique Badass.
Chama a polícia, pai! Agora tu desgraçado,
Quote for context so I can fill you guys in even more as I was explaining the hypothetical situation with Francis. From Monique Bastos, a strawweight MMA fighter, if we can throw back to that quote so it does not disappear. I was going to my jiu-jitsu training when they arrived on a motorcycle and said they wanted our phones. I tried to hold my phone and I realized they were not armed. When they tried to escape, I lifted the rear wheel of the bike and they fell on the ground. God, that's amazing. Just humiliates them. The guy who took my phone ran away, but I was able to get the other one. The other one, by the way, was the guy going, "Hey, hey, God!"
So, I mean, this is in Brazil, right?
Yes.
So my Portuguese isn't up to standard, but I know from context and reading up on this story that he was yelling, "I never did anything, Dad, Dad, I never did anything." That's why I think say Papi, I think, and they're trying to plead his innocence, and then other people around him are like, "We've seen you.
We're laughing.
We know you did do something wrong." So there's clear purpose for her actions. It may have looked extreme, but it was nonetheless absolutely merited. If you don't want to if you don't want to pay, what is the song you're saying? Go. If you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime, or something like that. Do you ever hear that saying before? If you don't want to pay the crime, don't do the crime.
I don't know why you'd be paying crimes.
What is it?
You don't want to do the time. Oh, God. If you don't want to do the time,
Nobody knows.
If you don't want to do the time, then you don't do the crime. And in this situation, the time came in the form of a deadly triangle. Ha, fucking ha.
Yeah, so by the way, second time Bastos has used that move in terms of fighting back and protecting her and her friends.
Is that really?
Yeah,
Is that true?
She mentioned that in the article from MMA Fighting a little bit later on, saying, no, this isn't the first time this has happened. I just love how she's so aware of what was going on. Like, she saw, like, there was no knives. They didn't have any or any armed weapons for that, because the other fight, I think there was a knife involved in it. But no weapons. So she took complete advantage of that, going like, no, I'm not going to let these guys get away. And they obviously don't know who they messed with.
Yeah, and this comes back both sides, though. You have to say that, like, you don't want to encourage this unless, one, you're trained, and two, you're fully confident that they don't have any weapons. Because suddenly, you know this is going to happen. Someone might try to do the same thing, and someone might have a gun. And you don't want to encourage that. Because if the bottom line is, what my dad always used to say to me, streets of Scotland were never always the safest. Would you rather lose your phone than take a knife puncture? You know what I mean? So I never was lucky enough to never come into that situation. The streets of Glasgow are pretty rough, but I never came into the situation of having to hand over anything. But I've known friends who have just given away their wallets and stuff like that because you don't know what someone's got. This situation seems like, I mean, the police are definitely looking to try and get her on to recruit her, because she seems to like have evaluated the situation before just acting. She didn't just try and defend herself through her actions. She realized that they couldn't cause her severe damage with any weapons, and she trusted her own ability to do so. So from that standpoint, thumbs up to Monique.
Putting your jiu-jitsu training to perfect use.
Exactly.
That day.
And the only thing that's kind of like, it goes through the whole story, and at the bottom of the article, I read that like she's 0-3 in her MMA career. Like, I wanted her to like...
She's 1-3. She beat the robbers.
True. Put that down as a record. She deserves it. But I want to see her like use this form of training on an opponent as well and get really good so that when she comes up through the ranks, we're like, you know, that's a girl that beat the ass of those stupid robbers.
Tip, hats off to Monique Bastos. Badass name, by the way.
Yeah.
Bastos.
I was trying to figure out how to incorporate badass into Bastos, but
Badastos.
Bastos.
But then it kind of sounds like asbestos. Asbestos. Also kind of badass. I mean, it depends on which way you would use it. Regardless, like, favorite, and subscribe, and leave all your comments in the comment section below. I don't know really, what's the question for discussion? What would you...
Well, I guess, do you think these guys had exactly what was coming to them? What is your perspective on this issue? I will advise that if anyone does come into a circumstance, just make sure to think rationally. We are in a medium here. Jason, you said medium at the start. I'm going to say medium again. We're in a medium here that we want to promote safety to our fans, and we want to make sure that unless you're fully confident that it'll better the situation if you imply your expertise skills, then do so. Otherwise, just make sure to stay safe.
Follow Francis straight out of streets of Scotland at Francis_Maxwell and at Jason Rubin 91 and at TYT Sports.